Okay, I'm going to start off this episode with showing the progress of the dash pad. Everything looks fantastic from this point of view here. Nice and clean, everything's great. But I'll have to start the episode off with an apology because the video that I was trying to shoot ended up going straight to hell, and I'll get to that in a second. Biggest dilemma, biggest problem, and absolutely no fix whatsoever is the glove box. Here's how I have to open it now. 2 hands, gently pull it down with loose hinges. I can't tighten these. If I tighten them, I cannot close the box. Reason being, this entire section of the dash pad seems to have shrunk inward. I spent the entire day trying to get this section to line up. Even the handrail, this hole here lined up perfectly through the steel dash. This hole, you could only see half the hole. So I had to really muscle things around and force it. Everything seemed to be this way. And maybe it's all because of this flaw I decided I could live with. So the plan from the start was to get real world installation. And I guess I'm giving you that, but unfortunately for me, I'm giving you that with the probably a very defective dash pad, unfortunately for me. Fortunately for you, you'll be able to see the type of chaos that ensues by having things not aligned. So in saying that, if you take away one thing from this video, at the very beginning I said I hope you learn from my mistakes. Big mistake I made was trimming that dash pad before I test fitted it. If you get a dash pad, if you see a flaw and you think you can live with it, install the dash. Start with the 2 10mm nuts, tighten them down, get the 2 top screws in as best you can, and it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of force to get the screws on the bottom side. Had I installed the dash properly just to set it in place, I would have realized right away that 4 of the screw holes were off by at least a 1/4 inch no matter what I did, and that the glove box itself was shifted completely to the driver's side, to the left. So that was out of alignment. It's barely big enough to fit the actual glove box cover. The grab handle was off alignment. Anyways, it goes on and on. It was a huge struggle yesterday, but it's in. I'm happy enough, except this part here, I'm gonna have to live with it like that. Whatever, it won't pop open on me. And oh, also the glove box ring, I actually had to cut the top portion. I had to take 1.5 inches out of it just to get that to fit. It was absolutely impossible to get this to work. And it could very well be that this flaw in the top corner had caused all my issues. Test fit your dash before you cut anything. Once I started cutting and trimming and then tried to put it in place, it was too late. I didn't realize that nothing was lining up on this side. Too late. Test fit your dash for sure, regardless of who you bought it from. This video essentially was just the installation. There wasn't too much to it. I couldn't show you much anyway. A lot of trimming, but essentially in the end, I tightened the 2 10mm nuts. I did the screws as best I could, lined all the 4 or 5, or the 5 that I got in the original holes. I got all those done, and then self-tap screws for the rest, stretching it out as best I could. Finally got the glove box the way it is here, and then installed the ductwork on this side while I had the room before putting the box in place on the back side. Redid the strap, and then redid the the mount for the trunk latch. And I did that before replacing my stereo, of course, because it gives me access through the back. That was pretty much it, but it took a long time. So I will splice a video together with the small amount of video I did. First step on my list was to put these vents in. So left and right first. There is no difference between the two vents, left and right. So it doesn't matter which one goes where, but obviously you want the orientation to be correct. So the taller side is towards the inside of the cab. So basically the steel dash, I'm gonna push down until it snaps between these two ridges. Hopefully this gets done fairly quickly. And that feels like that's it. Edit right back in here. So I revisited this. There was a bit of movement to it, or play in it. Didn't feel quite right because the passenger side snapped right in super tight. So what I ended up doing was reaching in here and sort of pulling this way and pushing down at the same time, and it snapped into place. And now you can see that's tight and there's absolutely no movement there. That's what you want. I had a little bit of trouble here because the ductwork is still behind here, and it got wedged between my light switch that I just replaced. And off camera I had a bit of a struggle. But again, I need to put this in place, and then once this is in, because of where the ductwork is, I need to snap that into place while I'm here. It's just going to be me working it, pushing down, and then reaching up and snapping the... Yeah, that should work actually. I'll play with that off camera and try to get this into place. Looks like I might be able to get that doing it this way. Yeah, this is probably the scariest part of the whole installation, aside from hopefully it fits properly. But anyway, I obviously need to cut the hole out for the stereo. This pretty much lines up with the embossed area here. So I'm essentially just going to take a knife and cut along the edge here. Make sure this slips in and fits. I compared this hole with the one on the OEM, or the original pad, and yeah, essentially I just need to cut this out. I'm just using a simple X-Acto knife. I got a newer blade in it. I'm slowly just pressing it in here. I can trim it after the fact, but slowly working my way around, just ensuring that I got the blade on the right angle so I don't drift out past this way. I'd rather cut in as opposed to cut out, obviously, so only one chance at this. So yeah, just taking my time. I won't film the whole thing, but I'll work my way around. I ended up trimming as close as I could to the edge there, and then I used the Dremel tool to clean that up, just to tidy it up a little bit. While I was working on this, I decided to test fit the grills, and I'm glad I did, because the grill on the right hand side fit pretty good. I think I'll be able to push it in nice, no problem. This one here, 3 of the tabs are in. This one here isn't even close. So I'm gonna have to make my own hole here. So if you're putting a new dash pad in, it might be worth test fitting your stuff beforehand. Now that I've cut it, I really hope that it lines up to my actual dash in the car, because I obviously can't return it now that I sliced a big hole in it. Anyway, I'm going to cut a tab here. I ended up cutting the speaker hole out as well, right here. I decided I am going to put that speaker back in, even though it's cheap. So as before, steering column's out, or loosened off. The vents are already in, so I'm just going to line this up. And my battery just chimed in there being low. So I'm going to basically just set this in place and do up the 10 mil nuts on either corner. Okay, so I figured I'd get the battery. It's not quite charged, but come in here and give you an update. So the entire dash seemed to be sort of shifted to the left. So I put the left-hand side 10 mil nut in and then pulled as hard as I could. Ended up tightening both the 10 mils very tight just to sort of stretch the pad across. And believe me, I did a whole bunch of different star patterns, loose, tight. I did a bunch of stuff, but this is what ended up working for me. Tightened the two nuts, and then I came up here, and I'm trying to look through the camera at the same time. Managed to thread that screw in, which pulled it more this way again. Tightened that one in. And then this grab handle was completely over to the left. This side lined up perfectly. This side was slightly over to the right. I managed to get the screw in the bottom left-hand corner, and with everything I had, I was able to get a screw on this side and a screw on this side. And that is it. Nothing else lines up. Under here, I'm off by quite a bit. The only way I'm going to get this to work is I'm going to go get some self-tapping metal screws, unfortunately. It's unfortunate nothing lines up down here. Not even close. There's no way I can stretch it, but it took everything I had, especially down here, to stretch that enough to get to the screw holes. I got the switches back in. No issues there except the headlight one wasn't quite lined up, and I actually had to trim it to because it was just jammed up against the dash pad. I had to trim that. The steering or the speedometer hole, you can see, is shifted towards the passenger side. Like there's a huge lip here. All right, so I'm gonna have to trim that. I'm gonna test fit everything, make sure I don't cut beyond the speedometer ring. I've got this trimmed out good enough. Now this, I could stand to use or to buy a new one here actually, because one of my tabs, like we're bending these tabs again over top. One of them is broken off down here at the bottom. So maybe I'll order a new one and replace it another day. But anyway, for now, this just slips in like that. And I'll hopefully I filmed that. I was looking at the ring, not the camera, but I'm going to press this in like this. At the same time, I'll bend the tabs around the back side of the dash, and that way it'll hold it tight against the dash pad. But that's it for the ring installation. Pretty simple and straightforward. I decided to come over here, and as you know, I mentioned earlier, these holes don't line up. Nothing lines up. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing, to the point where I'm actually concerned if my glove box cover is even going to fit anymore. Because I installed the hinge just to see what would happen. It's behind the fricking dash pad. All right, so I can force it out. But Jesus Christ, man. I don't know. I guess I'll just have to press through. There was a lot of excess material all around the dash or the glove box opening. I trimmed all the excess stuff away to help me out. This portion here on the bottom wasn't even on the original dash, but I know that, you know, you're supposed to glue this down. I understand that. I'm going a different route. Maybe it's a bad idea, but I was struggling. I've been trying to get this done for quite a while. So there's 3 tabs on the bottom. This is upside down here. This is the glove box ring. There's 3 tabs. 1 tab goes here, 1 tab goes in a hole here, and 1 tab goes here. The tabs, these are lined up to the holes. The tabs are here. So I have to, I will not be able to film this. But the glove box ring, I'm going to have to push it very hard in this direction and try to snap them into the posts, into the holes as I move along. I'm just hoping I can do it because it's really tight. Well, I've crammed it into this corner. As you can see, there's the stop for the door. So there's no way the glove box lid is going to fit in this freaking thing. And now when I try to push it onto this side, you can see obviously this is like 2 inches away from where it's supposed to be. If I push that in, I'll either break it in half or render this completely useless. I have no idea right now how to proceed. I'm at a loss. I yanked the other one out, put the old one in just to see what would happen. So what I've determined is that the left-hand side is perfectly correct and aligned. This whole corner of this dash pad, this is the side with the wrinkle in it. I think that this entire side of the dash pad is actually somewhat defective. But, you know, now that I've cut it to hell, there's no way I can return it. I put the glove box cover on just to see what would happen, and it is right inside the dash pad. So there's nothing I can do now. There's nothing, it's not like I can trim the dash pad and have all the foam sticking out. Okay, back one more time. I ended up getting desperate. So in my desperation, I ended up saying screw it, and I cut the stupid thing right here. Squeezed this in as far as I could and used screws. On top of that is I've put this on, taken it off, put it on, taken it at least a dozen times because I had to trim the corners. They were like way down here. This one was dug in so tight in the corner here, it was pressing this way. So the pins that are on the bottom side of the lower edge were completely out of alignment. So I had no choice whatsoever but to basically massacre that thing. I mean, it'll be underneath the dash cover. It's not like you're gonna see it, so it doesn't really, I don't care that much. I'm happy that it's in and the hinges are free moving. But as you can see, this hinge is still right up against the dash pretty much. So there's nothing I can do with this ring. It's getting so late now I can't even think of my wording, but there's nothing I can do with this. So I have to come up with something that's going to enable me to use my dash cover or my glove box cover. As of right now, I've got the glove box in, the glove box cover I should say. You can see here it's jammed up. And over here there's not much of a gap, but a bit of a gap. So the only way I can get this to work, to actually open and close, this sucks because you'll see when I open this, it jams up here. So I have to leave my hinges, I have to leave the lid loose so that I can pull it and lift it away from the back dash at the same time to get it to open. I really do believe that this pad is defective on this side, but So in the end, I'm living with for now, a loose glove box cover. So I mean, it's lined up okay. It's not too bad, but I have to keep the hinges loose and so that I can open and close it. Whatever. It's good and tight in there, closed, so it's not going to rattle or anything like that. But again, the dash pad is just, it's the way it is. I don't know. It's not aligned properly. I'm happy with how it looks though overall. Looks great. Everything's looking good up top. Behind the dash, I replaced the strap and put the screw back into the support that's on the left hand side of the glove box on the inside, and I reattached the ductwork that was hooked up under here. So I did the ductwork first because I needed the room, and then I put the box in place, tightened that screw into the support, and then put the strap on, and that was it for the glove box. So this side is complete. Grab handles good and tight, that's all done. And yeah, the next episode will be all the electrical stuff, I suppose, and that's that.